Welcome back. It's Maxine, your spiritual astrologer, sharing astrology in a more empowering and soul-centered way. And today we're going to talk all about that Sagittarius full moon on May 23rd, 2024, and I'll give you a transit update. As we go through this, you'll learn how you can make the most of the energy shifts end of May into June. And as always, I'll share the 5 key spiritual messages to make it really practical for you, to help you listen with your intuition for what is coming up for you personally at this time. Because as I always share, new and full moons are those check-in points throughout the lunar cycle where we're really being shown what it is that we need to pay attention to, that we need to focus on, be mindful of, what to avoid, how we can really check in with our souls at these times. So whatever, as you listen, whatever really jumps out to you, maybe it's one message, maybe it's all 5 in some ways, but this can be a really great way to tune in, go within, tune out the noise and see what is coming up for you. And perhaps this is something you also weave into your moon ritual for the Sagittarius full moon. Before I get into that though, I do want to say at the start that the Doors to Spiritual Astrology School, my really in-depth, comprehensive program to learn how to read birth charts, transit charts, and more all in one place, that is going to begin for another semester on June 1st is the official start date. So the doors open in just a few days. If you want to enroll, if you want more info on that, you can go to MaxineLuthia.com and of course reach out to me over on Instagram if you have any questions whatsoever, big or small. If you want to just feel out to make sure it's a good fit for you or not, feel free to send a message my way. But it is an incredible program, and yeah, if you check out the testimonials from past beautiful souls who've taken SAS, you'll definitely see that it is a much loved program, and I'm just so excited to welcome a new class. So yeah, check that out if interested. It'll actually be a 6-month-long program too, so that is a new thing I'm trying out. So if you join now, then you get 2 bonus months and 2 bonus lives. So it'll help you to take SAS at a slower pace if you want more time with the program and with me. So yeah, I'll leave that below for you to linked, or go to MaxineLuthia.com for that. Okay, so let's bring it back to the Sagittarius full moon. I'm going to give you an overview at the start of some key things to keep in mind. Just real quick, I'll run through them, and then I'll get into those 5 key spiritual messages for you for the Sagittarius full moon, and I'll get more into other transits as we get into it. So the first thing to know is that the Sagittarius full moon takes place on May 23rd, but even the days surrounding that are significant. So whenever you're listening to this, if you're listening before May 23rd, there's the build up to that peak in the lunar cycle on May 23rd, and it intensifies as it gets closer. And then in the days afterward, you kind of start to see that more reflective energy of reflecting back on May 23rd, the surrounding days, what came up for you. And with a full moon, it's always a lot about insight. It's a lot about seeing things very obviously. They stand out in some way. So if you're listening to this and you're in some sort of situation that perhaps you want a bit of perspective on, then this can really help to guide you in working with the lunar cycle in this way. And also with the full moon, you might notice it happens that there's some change on an inner level or an external obvious change that's taking place, like something that you clearly see that's coming up for you. So it can manifest for you in different ways, especially based on your birth chart and also your free will. And then last thing, this full moon is taking place at 2, almost 3 degrees of Sagittarius. So if you know a bit more astrology, you can look to your birth chart and see if you have maybe your sun, your moon, your rising, maybe Mars, some planet in Sagittarius, especially at those early 1st degrees. If so, this will be a more significant full moon for you at some level, whether that's more of an internal shift or something more obvious, more external coming to fruition. And there's more to be said about that, but just to note, if you're looking at your birth chart, do you have any planets, especially at early degrees of Sagittarius, Gemini, even Virgo, Pisces? And just to add to that, every new and full moon, this Sagittarius full moon, there's a message for you. Whether or not you choose to listen to it, that is, again, your free will, but there's always a message for you. There's always something that you can reflect on. There's always, in some way, something that you can improve upon, or something that you want to be reminded of, to be more mindful of. So it's beautiful how the more in touch you are with the lunar cycle, with these cosmic rhythms, with in turn yourself, as above, so below, the more you're able to see just how significant even the other new and full moons that perhaps don't light up your chart in such an obvious way, you see how important they are too, because they're sometimes attuning you to a blind spot that you might have as well. So hopefully I'm not losing anyone there talking about that, but it is really important to just tune in and see every new and full moon when you have those check-in points of awareness, because astrology is that spiritual tool for awareness, that you are getting quiet enough to receive that message. Because so often we're not quiet enough, so we don't receive fully what there is to be brought to our attention, and we miss out on those lessons, those insights, those opportunities and gifts that are meant for us. Okay, so with that said, let's now move on to those 5 key spiritual messages for your soul. So just listen with your intuition and listen to see which one really comes up strongly for you, and see and meditate on that even after this to see what else is there that perhaps wants to come through for you. So let's get into it. The 5 key spiritual messages for you this Sagittarius full moon. So message number 1 is there is more for you. There is more for you. If you have been wondering, maybe it's some situation that has been plaguing you for a while, or maybe it's even a belief or a perspective shift that you need to have to really expand, and you need to see how you can welcome in more rather than closing off. That's something that if this message is speaking to you, if this is your spiritual message, you'll know, because you feel like you have been constricting, you feel like you have been blocking your blessings, you feel like you've been getting smaller and smaller. Whereas this full moon in Sagittarius is asking you to expand, to explore, to really just let yourself, like a big exhale is what it feels like. How can you open your arms to new experiences, new ways of seeing old situations, a new way of even seeing yourself, and be more optimistic than perhaps you have been in the past? Almost what's coming to me is like, dare to be optimistic. It feels perhaps scary. So allowing yourself to really just let down your guard long enough to see beyond the walls that you've put up. And that is where you're seeing that there is more for you. It's just that it wasn't in your field of vision, but now it is if you let it be. And another piece to this is if it doesn't feel like you can fully let down your guard, obviously there are tools, there's healing, there's a lot more that comes with this message. But letting yourself even get a peek, get a glimpse, allow yourself maybe on this full moon to explore in your imagination. What would it look like if you ... What does that look like to you? What would it feel like if you weren't afraid? What would it feel like if you knew that was a real, actual possibility for you? So it's almost like this wall, you're making windows, you're breaking windows into this wall that you've built. If you don't feel like you can fully surrender that now, that's okay. That's really okay. But this is an opportunity to even at least get a glimpse of that for you. So whatever that looks like for you, but this is a great full moon to get some insight that helps you even down the line to release. And then spiritual message number 2 for the Sagittarius full moon is celebrate. And it almost feels like a command, like there's this intensity built up behind that. There's this need, this urge of your soul to really enjoy life more, to not take life so seriously. And that's not to say just jettison all of your responsibilities and, go to, the tropics, or, just forget everything. But it is, modify this for your scenario, but there's a need to appreciate what life is giving to you. What are those moments all around you? There's this urge to be more present, to celebrate life, and to know that tomorrow isn't a given. So there's a need to really feel like you are celebrating life. And so this is a great time to be social for many of you. There might be a sense that you want to get out of your kind of hermit mode, and you're wanting to let yourself be seen, let yourself show up more freely, and really caring less about what people think in that scenario. So just allowing yourself to celebrate life, to live, and not feel like you have to constantly be a perfectionist of how you're showing up and being so picky about how you choose others to see you in some way. So if that's something that resonates with you, letting yourself just be unapologetically, like unfiltered in some way. There's this sense, this need to be raw, to be real. And and that's a big part of this. And it can look like wanting to be social. It can also look like wanting to celebrate life in your own way. So maybe it's wanting to book a travel. Maybe it's wanting to go to a new park. Maybe it's wanting to just explore in something that you haven't before, or even explore something new that you haven't learned before. Shameless plug for spiritual astrology school. There's this desire to really just see, okay, more is possible. And how can you at the same time know that more doesn't always have to be like more things or more responsibilities or, more striving towards something, but it can also just be more meaning, more belief in yourself, more joy. What is it that brings you joy and happiness? Doing things just because, just for fun, and seeing where that goes. That's the spirit of this with the full moon in Sagittarius. And then spiritual message number 3 for the Sagittarius full moon is don't overdo it. If you are someone, this message is really for you, if you are someone who is very spontaneous, maybe very free-spirited, fun-loving, and you already make a lot of time for what I've just talked about, you already are someone who loves to explore and you love to do all the things, this is a time to make sure that you are still making use of this energy in a way that feels good to you, but also paying attention to what are your values, what are those anchors for you, what are your long-term goals, what kind of person do you want to be, and making sure that your choices at this time, how you spend your time, your energy, is in alignment with that, of who you want to be and where you're headed, and not scattering yourself too thin at this time. So that's a really important one for you if you feel like this message might speak to you, if you are really looking to work towards something, some long-term goal. Don't get too distracted at this time. Enjoy life, but also keep your priorities in check. And part of the astrology of this is Pluto is at 2 degrees of Aquarius, making an exact sextile at the time of the full moon to the moon itself. And so that supports you in really being very brutally honest with yourself too at this full moon, just across the board. So being mindful, but it's not doesn't have to be a harsh honesty. It also can just help you really see where you may be going overboard in something, or where you need to cut something out, cutting out excess in some way. Kind of all or nothing, what is it going to take you to get to where you know you want to be? And then spiritual message number 4 for the Sagittarius full moon is honor the lesson. And this is because, so stay with me here, but Jupiter is the ruling planet of the Sagittarius full moon. And so Jupiter has the spotlight placed on it for that reason, but also because Jupiter has been for the last year, since May 2023, it's been in the sign of Taurus. And at this full moon, not only is it the ruling planet, but it's at the last possible degree of Taurus. So just after this full moon on May 23rd, 2 to 3 days later, we're having that shift of Jupiter into Gemini, okay? So what we're seeing at this full moon is Jupiter making this final bow in the sign of Taurus. And you are being shown what is it at this full moon. It's being illuminated. What is the lesson that Jupiter has shown you over the past year since May 2023? And what is that lesson? So that way it's not just something that happened this last year. Maybe there's some big theme that's come out, a lot that's come up for you, some challenge, something you've had to overcome. How can you see that in some way gets to be in the past now? That's a lesson you've learned. And now going forward, you're choosing to see differently. You're choosing to grow. You're choosing to leave that in the past so you can move forward. And so if this message is speaking to you, there may be something that has come up for you from the past year that you recognize there's something you need to learn there, and there's something that you're ready to learn and you're able to move forward from. So there's that element here of choice if this message is really speaking to you. But it's acknowledging that Jupiter is the teacher. It's the great teacher here to help you grow and improve. So what is that for you? And Jupiter also gives you that higher perspective, especially because at this full moon, again, another cool fact of it is Jupiter is exactly conjunct Venus, this planet of love, this planet that really asks you to see in this more compassionate light and perspective some old situation, and to get that higher perspective here. And just to note that Jupiter is now going to shift into the sign of Gemini for about a year-long transit on May 25th, 26th, depends on your time zone, all the way until June 9th, 2025. So it's so important that as Jupiter, the ruling planet of this full moon, the last degree of Taurus, conjunct Venus, as it is making that final bow out of Taurus, you're reflecting on the past year since May 16th, 2023, and you're seeing what has come up and what is the lesson there. So that way Jupiter can make that graceful exit and you can move forward. So that is message number 4, to know the lesson, to really honor the lesson so you can move forward from that. And then spiritual message number 5 for the Sagittarius full moon is be loving, be compassionate, and really live more from your heart. This is a call to live more from your heart center, your heart chakra. How can you show up for life in that way? Okay, in all scenarios. And this is speaking to that Sagittarius full moon. The ruling planet is Jupiter, conjunct Venus to the exact degree. In 29 degrees of Taurus, Jupiter is conjunct Venus. And that is really important because it's Jupiter is the shining star of this full moon, okay? And it is conjunct Venus. It is bringing that spotlight to her. And so you are being asked, again, begging, pleading, how can you show up from your heart more? How can you, going back to that first message at the start, how can you let down your guard? Or how can you at least, if you're not able to just melt that guard down, how can you create perhaps a window or even a peek hole in that wall that you've built up around you to protect, to defend? This is letting down your guard so those blessings can find you, so those opportunities can find you, so those relationships can find you, so love can find you, abundance, all of that. All those good things are on the other side of fear, and that's what this message is all about. And it is a beautiful one, and there's so much more to say about that, but message number 5, be loving, because like attracts like. So those are all 5 spiritual messages for the Sagittarius full moon on May 23rd. But again, whenever you're watching this, trusting that it is divine timing. There's a reason why you pressed play. And also, if you feel like sharing which message really rang true for you, which one your soul needed to hear, then I'd love to hear that. And as your reminder, if you're interested in joining Spiritual Astrology School, you are in luck because I'm about to reopen enrollment for that in just a few days. And that'll be for our June 1st start date semester and for the next 6 months. So if you're listening to this after May 19th, go to MaxineLuthia.com. You'll get all the info there. You can join there, but you'll get a breakdown of the 30 plus hours of video lessons included, the breakdown month to month, topics, the lives, details on all of that. And if you have more questions, just reach out to me. But the testimonials there too from past beautiful SAS grads are so helpful as well. You essentially learn how to read astrology charts, everything from birth charts to transits and more, all in one program. So it's meant to be kind of a one-stop shop where you're learning how to finally blend all the pieces and put them together and make it make sense. And do so in a really meaningful, impactful, soul-centered way. So you're learning spiritual evolutionary astrology, that approach. Wherever you're at now, you really go deeper in SAS. So hope you can join if it sounds like a fit for you. And if you're listening to this later after and you're not able to join, just know I will run this again in the fall. This will be a 6-month-long program, so you're actually getting 2 bonus months and 2 bonus lives, but would love to have you be a part of that. And if you have any questions, just message me on Instagram, send me an email, whatever your question is. I'd love to help just give you some clarity so you can make the best choice for yourself. And yeah, that's all I have for you for today's episode. So thanks so much for listening till the end. I'm so grateful to be a part of your spiritual astrology journey in whatever way. And I hope you have such a beautiful Sagittarius full moon. Take care. Blessings. Bye.